we are finally able to play with the new cards from Silver Tempest, and I am super excited. Hey, Nick from 9Card TCG, and today we're going to be looking at what is expected to be one of, if not the best deck in the format. I still think Palkia and Teleon's probably a little bit better, but we're looking at Lugia VSTAR with, I mean, it's Lugia and friends, and it's I haven't tried this yet, but it seems like this is one of the more common builds for Lugia. I'm going to look at the deck profile, we'll talk about the strategy, how it works, and we'll do some gameplay. But before we do, if you haven't already, do me a favor, like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. Tells YouTube this is a good channel and other people should watch it. The Pokemon Company was kind enough to send me a bunch of Silver Tempest codes, and that's how I was able to get a lot of the stuff that we're using in today's video. So huge thank you to Pokemon for providing those to me. And yeah, why don't we go ahead and head over to PTCGO and take a look at this Lugia deck. So here we are, and you're going to see a lot. First of all, I apologize for the different arts. I don't really have a lot of control over what gets pulled. I'm going to move that. And so Lugia V, you know, look at the alt art, because the alt art is gorgeous. Lugia V, 220 health, 2 retreat cost, lightning weakness. Now, lightning weakness is pretty important for just a single energy, read the wind, and you get to discard a card from your hand. If you do, draw 3. Now, you're going to be like, Nick, that's not that great, but honestly, if we're being real, that's actually a pretty solid attack if you're going second. So, like, your first turn going second before you get to evolve into a Lugia, you, like, attach a capture energy to this thing, get another Lugia, or just another Pokemon that you need into play, and then read the wind, and now you just get your hand up to 3. Yes, your opponent can Marnie you, but you know what? It's a chance we take. What we really need is the Lugia VSTAR. Lugia VSTAR, 280 health, still has a retreat cost of 2 and a lightning weakness, Tempest Dive for 4 colorless energies. And I know 4 is kind of a lot to do 220. In any other card, you'd be like, Nick, 4 for 220 is garbage. But not only do we get to discard a stadium and play if we choose, which is actually really nice for this deck, we get Archeops. Now, Archeops is the way that this deck functions. It's the engine for this deck, Primal Turbo. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for 2 special energies and attach them to one of your Pokemon. So if you have multiple Archeops out, you can search your deck for up to 4 special energies in a single turn and attach them to your Pokemon, which means we can power up that Lugia immediately. We can power up almost everything in this deck immediately with Archeops. Now, if you look, you're going to be like, Nick, there's no Arcan, there's no Fossil, which are the things you need to evolve Archeops. How do we get it out? The answer is Lugia VSTAR's VSTAR Power Summoning Star. You may use this VSTAR Power once during your turn. Take 2 colorless, non-rule box Pokemon from your discard and put them directly onto your bench. Which means if we get 2 Archeops into the discard, and we can do that a lot of ways, we have Ultra Ball, there's Quick Ball in here, Serena, Research, Professor Burnet, we'll go over those a little bit more. Ton of ways to get Pokemon into the discard pile, and so we get those 2 Archeops into the discard, Lugia VSTAR ability, Summoning Star, boom, and now immediately, even if we don't have an energy, we can attack instantly. So that's kind of the strategy. Get our Lugia into play, get Archeops in the discard, evolve into the VSTAR, and then use Summoning Star so that we can get the Archeops into play, start accelerating energy, and hit really hard. Now, we have a bunch of other Pokemon. Dunsparce here is going to remove our lightning weakness. That's kind of important because Palkia is very good and weak to lightning, and then Lugia is also weak to lightning, being a flying type. So we get rid of our lightning type weakness. Very popular, or very good. We also have Manaphy to protect our bench. We really want to keep our Archeops alive, at least in the early game, so that we can accelerate and power up all of our Pokemon. So Manaphy is going to help us protect our bench from things that want to snipe, maybe opposing Lugia decks, maybe things like Regieleki deck, or Regigigas, Rapid Strike Urshifu, Jolteon, which might want to make a comeback. So Manaphy is kind of important. Crobat is going to let us draw some cards. Cool. Lumineon lets us search a deck for a supporter. Pumpkaboo, when we play it from our hand, discard a stadium. Really need to discard stadiums in this deck because we only have 2 Lost Cities, so those are our counter stadiums, but Tempest Dive lets us discard a stadium, and Pumpkaboo lets us discard a stadium. So we really need to be able to get rid of something like Path to the Peak or Temple of Sinnoh. Path to the Peak, so we can use Summoning Star or use like one of our abilities, and then Temple of Sinnoh removes all effects from special energy and turns them all into colorless energies. So we really don't want to see that card in play. The other Pokemon we have are something like the amazing rare Yveltal with the amazing destruction attack. Your opponent's active Pokemon is just knocked out. Now, do keep in mind, you cannot use this on a Mewtwo V Union because of its Photon Barrier ability, and you can't use this on something with a big Parasol attached. So, something to keep in mind, but that Fire Psychic Dark double colorless, which is like, how on earth are you going to get that going? Well, we use the Archeops. Archeops number 1 gets a couple of Aurora energies. Archeops number 2 gets another Aurora energy and say a Twin energy or a double Turbo energy. And there you go. All 5 energies accounted for. It's crazy. We do also have something like the Fire and Dark energy, so some options there as well. Radiant Charizard is a great attacker, and it used to be just a late game attacker, but now with Archeops, we can attack with it at any point we want because we can power this up immediately with the use of Twin Energy, Double Turbo Energy, and just a Fire Energy, Aurora Energy, whatever we want. You can power this up instantly. So even if, Path to the Peak's in play, even if your opponent hasn't taken a single prize, we can just dunk something with Radiant Charizard, hit for 250, knock out every single V. Even if they have a big charm attached, that thing is getting knocked out. The last Pokemon that is amazing rare, Raikou. This is amazing shot, 120 to the active, which means we can do some pretty good damage. We can hit 150 to the active with a Choice Belt, and if we have opposing Lugia or Palkia, now we're taking a KO, and we get to do 120 to the bench for that Grass, Lightning, Metal energy. Again, we do have our Aurora energies to fulfill that cost. Now, one of the challenge is knowing which attackers you want to use, right? We have Archeops to accelerate all these energies, but we only have a finite number of energies to accelerate. So we need to make sure that we're choosing something, our attackers very wisely. We don't want to just power up 3 Lugias and then all of a sudden, oh man, I need Yveltal because I need that one attack KO on, say, like a Duraludon VMAX or something like that. So to plan out your prizes, it's really important. So what is really the strategy for this deck? We kind of talked about it. Lugia, get Archeops into play, use Archeops to pick the best attacker for that turn. Now we have a bunch of ways to get Archeops and Lugia. We already talked about, sorry, this is like scrolling super hard. Evolution Incense, Quick Ball, Ultra Ball, our Pokemon search. We have Professor Burnet, which is a nice inclusion. Search your deck for up to 2 cards and then just discard them. So we can, our second turn, especially if we're going first, this is fantastic if we go first and then next turn, play Lumineon, find Burnet, just put 2 Archeops into the discard, and then we can use our Evolution Incense and Ultra Balls to just find whatever Pokemons we need. We don't have to really worry about using our Pokemon search to get an Archeops to then discard. Burnet does it for us. Research and Serena. Serena's a new card we'll take a look at. Choose one of the following effects. Discard up to 3 cards from your hand. You have to choose one, but you can do up to 3 and then draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. And then switch one of your opponent's V Pokemon on the bench with their active. You can only do that to Pokemon V, but you know what? Most of the time when we're attacking stuff, it's going to be Pokemon V anyway. A wide variety of energies. V-Guard energy reduces damage done to our Pokemon if they're hit by a Pokemon V by 30. Twin energy is really nice for something like the Yveltal, the Charizard, if we need to attack with Archeops for some reason. Really good option there. Lost City. Lost City is really nice for opposing Lugia decks. We want to get rid of that Radiant Charizard. We want to get rid of Reggie's. We want to get rid of, in Lost Zone deck, their Radiant Charizard. That's kind of why I have Lost City in here, is to deal with some single prize options a little bit easier. But that's the whole thing. Let's go ahead and see how it plays. Going into our first game, I don't know how many games we're actually going to get in this, but we're going to try. And, if I make some mistakes along the way, it just means more opportunities for you to learn. Our opponent gets to choose who goes first. We really want to go first because we want to be able to evolve our Lugias very, very quickly before they get KO'd. So depending on what you're playing, if you feel like you are in danger of your Lugia getting KO'd, you might have to prioritize getting a second Lugia so that you can actually make your plays and get your board state. Because without Lugia, no Archeops. And no Archeops means no energy acceleration, and you're basically sitting there doing nothing. So this is a pretty good hand. I'm actually really okay with this. We have the Lugia VSTAR. We can capture energy to the active to get something. We'll see what we're up against before we make any decisions. We're playing against a Zoroark box. Now, we do have a fighting resistance, which is really nice. So, you know, the Hisuian Arcanine deck, they are a single prize deck, and they want to have no cards in hand, but get the Radiant Venusaur. Now, we don't have Path to the Peak to stop them from using Radiant Venusaur's ability, which is a little bit annoying, but you know what? It's fine. They're going to have to two-shot us no matter what. So, you know, we get to... If they fill up their bench too quickly, we might even be able to utilize Amazing Rare Raikou pretty quickly as well and start taking some nice snipes and get 2 prizes, start to knock out some important things, because all these Pokemon are going to have 120 or less, including the Oranguru. So depending on what they do, I might want to Amazing Rare Raikou, assuming it's not prized, right? There's a chance it's prized. Pumpkaboo is pretty nice. So immediately we capture energy. I'm not really worried that they're going to KO this thing. We got the Raikou, that's very good. We got all 4 Archeops. Do we have Burnet? We do, which means we can Lumineon for a Burnet to get those into play. We don't really need a ton else. We have an Ultra Ball that I can get the Raikou later. So what do I want? Because I don't want them to like boss KO it, because this doesn't have a lot of health and it's weak to fighting. So we don't need the Dunsparce right now. We don't really need the Manaphy. It's prized. So I might just go with second Lugia for now. And then we can Lumineon for Burnet. We will play it. And we'll get 2 Archeops straight into the discard. So now, next turn, we're kind of okay. I don't need the Choice Belt. So we can just go ahead and read the wind. Get rid of this Choice Belt. Draw a few cards. That's pretty good. The Lost City is actually kind of nice in this matchup. But it really depends on... I mean, they're going to have multiple copies of Arcanine. They're going to have multiple copies of like the Zoroarks. Now, they can do 160 with the Choice Belt is 190. But we have, like I said, we have that fighting weak resistance. So the Choice Belt will just negate the weakness. So they're still only going to hit for 160. Arcanine has 130 health, which I do not like to see. Because that means I need anything. There's a Temple of Sinnoh. This is actually not terrible. This is not terrible. We can bump that. We'll go into the VSTAR. We can... do we want to Evo Incense? Might as well. Yeah, we might as well get the Lugia, just so we have it. We can Summoning Star, get our 2 Archeops, just do the things we have to do. There's no, like, that's gonna happen no matter what. And now I can get rid of these 2. And we'll get the Raikou. Actually, Charizard might not be a bad option either. Just can't attack and it does so much extra damage. But we'll get the Raikou. And I don't want to research before I use Primal Turbo because I want to keep my energies in play. Now we can get a double turbo and like a powerful onto the Lugia, so it's ready to go. And now we can Primal Turbo. We can go, not the Heat, the 2 Auroras onto the Raikou here. And now we will just Tempest Dive. I'm not going to get rid of the Stadium. So those get Lost Zone, so they have one less Arcanine that they can use now. They actually have, at the moment, no Arcanines they can use. Because they need to draw a Zoroark. And then a way to get this. See, I would have promoted the Zorua. Because now they need a Zoroark and a way to get this Growlithe out of the active. Oh, they find it though. But it's still not a KO. Still not the KO because of the resistance here. So we get Serena. We can just start to Primal Turbo, just really power up our Pokemon. We don't need to go crazy. I'm just going to start to power up a Lugia here. So we have like an extra attacker just ready to go. This thing's going to get KO'd. I can use the other Archeops. I might to just get a V-Guard and we'll get the Hiding Dark onto this other Lugia. And from here, we just Tempest Dive again. Nope, we keep it. Quick Balls, you know, so we're feeling pretty good. Because now, no matter what, we're taking a KO, and depending on what they do, they happen to be top decking every single thing they need. But after this, they have 3 of their Arcanines are going to be in. 3 of their Arcanines are going to be in the Lost Zone after this turn. So they'll take 2 prizes. And they have 1 final Arcanine somewhere in the deck. We will. I don't even need to do anything else. I just want to hang on to this hand. Tempest Dive. Put that Arcanine away. And this is exactly what I was talking about in the video, or like the game, like the deck profile portion. That Lost City is a very underrated stadium and can be really useful against these single prize decks. So now, not only do they have more cards in hand, so very vulnerable is a little bit harder to use, I have 3 prizes. I have this amazing rare Raikou. I just power this thing up with Archeops and then attack and take these 2 things out. So depending on what they're able to do, they find Growlithe, well, that's going to get KO'd before they can evolve it. Raikou will make sure of that. And then I take out the Zorua. Ooh, they got the Drapion. Okay, well, I don't have much. Right, I don't have anything. The Drapion still needs 4 energies to attack at this point. So I'm going to retreat into you. We'll get rid of the powerful and the hiding. And then we can Primal Turbo another Aurora energy onto you. And we will just hit with amazing, we might as well attach to the Lugia. I don't want to put anything into play. Yeah, we don't need to put anything into play. And we will just amazing shot. Now they have no attackers. They have the Drapion, cool, but I'm gonna go down to a single prize. And they have no way of attacking. So this is not looking very good for our opponent here. Not having a Manaphy was very unfortunate for them. for this exact reason. They can boss up anything they want. We just Archeops, because this is gonna do, yeah, 240. It does way more than I need. And honestly, I could just retreat into the thing, the whatever it's called, the Raikou, and hit the benched, what's his face, the benched Oranguru, and take the last prize that way. So a lot of options for us there. Honestly, I think that we showed exactly what this deck wants to do in like almost optimal fashion. It used all the cards we wanted to use, the Burnet, the Lumineon. We didn't even have to play things like Crobat, but we do have a Serena to boss up that Drapion, and if we wanted to, or let's say we, weren't able to take that prize on the benched Growlithe, now we can use Serena to bring up that Drapion and knock it out with Lugia, because the Lugia is not getting KO'd. So that's pretty much how this deck wants to function. I think we happen to hit a pretty favorable matchup, but you get the idea. We still showed the strategy off. I hope you enjoyed, found it informative. If you did, like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. Like I said, it helps the channel tremendously. Let me know your thoughts on Silver Tempest, and I will see you next time.